Hey church, Pastor Shane here with another community group discussion starter video. This week we began a new sermon series out of the book of Galatians called First in Everything. We did that by diving into a huge theme that runs throughout all of Scripture, which is the theme of the firstborn. The fact that the firstborn in a family in most human societies and most cultures throughout most ages had a special power, privilege, and prestige along with it, as well as some responsibilities. The firstborn was supposed to be in charge of the family and kind of run the family, and with that came that power, prestige, and privilege, and have responsibilities over the family and its inheritance and its future. And we investigated that theme throughout the Old Testament, how God was kind of always flipping it on its head. He was always either choosing people or raising people up that were not the firstborn and yet kind of sitting in the firstborn position. And then we got to Jesus and saw how Jesus is called the firstborn in the Scriptures and in the book of Galatians. And what the argument of the book of Galatians is, because Jesus is first, he is that title of the firstborn, he is the one that has all power, authority, power, prestige, and privilege, as I kept on saying during the message, that if you put him first, then kind of everything else falls in line. And that's really what we'll be talking about for the next month, or next several months actually, as we walk through the book. What you could be talking about today is, well, one, coming to a deeper understanding of what it means for Jesus to be the firstborn. There's a number of passages I have in here for you in your sermon discussion guide for you to kind of read through. And when you hit that spot, I hope you'll read through them kind of one at a time and discuss what it says about the firstborn for each one of those passages and what it means for Jesus to have that title of the firstborn and the significance of it. And then we could ask ourselves the question, well, what does that mean for me? Am I putting him as first in my life? And that's a great way to start in the book of Colossians, because if we're asking ourselves that question from the start, it puts us in a place where we can actually answer the questions that the text is going to bring us. Are we putting him first in all things? And how might our lives change if we really put him first in everything that we are doing? And we're looking forward to this study because Colossians is a book that, in a sense, is very simple in its message. Put Christ first, and everything else will come about. But we all know that when even a simple truth meets real life, things could get kind of complicated. And that's true of this one as well. Of course you put Christ first. If you're coming to church, you might say that's obvious. But sometimes it's much harder to implement that in our lives. In addition, we may have all sorts of temptations come our way to kind of usurp or kind of take control of the power of the firstborn in our lives. There may be things that tempt us away from it. And we're going to see that here as well and talk about the things that we as a church need to be looking out for that tempt us away from keeping Christ first, front and center in our lives. And so my prayer during the series is for us as a church to grow in our maturity, for us to understand more what Christ is for us, and by centering ourselves on him, putting him first, that we as a church grow and develop into who God created us to be. I hope you have a great discussion.